Welcome to Joke's Room, your daily dose of laughter.
On their honeymoon, a young husband sat on the edge of the bathtub, working himself into a panic about how to confess to his new wife that his feet smelled so bad his socks could clear a room, while at the very same time his bride lay on the bed stressing over how to gently admit she had terrible breath and couldn't hide it forever. Eventually, the husband gathered his courage, walked into the bedroom, climbed onto the bed beside her, wrapped an arm around her, leaned in close, and said, "Darling, I've got a confession to make," to which she replied sweetly, "So have I, love," and he immediately pulled back and said, "Don't tell me you've eaten my socks."
A tiny, frail-looking old lady is pulled over for speeding on a quiet country road, and as the police officer approaches her car, he greets her politely and asks for her documents, quickly noticing her concealed carry license, and when he inquires if she has a firearm in the vehicle, she calmly replies that she does, listing one by one with a sweet smile, a 9mm in her purse, a .45 in the center console, a Magnum in the glove compartment, and even a pistol-grip shotgun in the trunk. The officer, eyebrows raised in disbelief at the sheer arsenal this 5-foot, 90-pound, 90-year-old woman carries, asks her what she's afraid of, to which she smiles innocently and confidently answers, "Not a goddamn thing."
A guy strolls into a bar and says, "Give me a shot of your finest whiskey and pour one for yourself, my treat," which pleasantly surprises the bartender, who pours 2 shots of the most expensive scotch they have. They clink glasses, knock 'em back, and after a moment, the guy casually heads for the door without paying, prompting the bartender to chase him down and demand his money, only for the guy to shrug and say he doesn't have a cent, earning himself a rough toss out the door and a ban from returning. Unbelievably, the very next night, the same guy comes back, apologizes profusely, asks for 2 more shots to make amends and be friends again, and the bartender, thinking no one could be that brazen twice, agrees. But once again, the man drinks up and tries to leave unpaid, leading to an even harsher beating and him being thrown out with a black eye and a bloody lip. On the 3rd night, the guy limps back in and asks for just 1 shot of the finest whiskey, and when the bartender sarcastically asks why he isn't buying him a drink this time, the guy replies, "Holy smokes, dude, no way! You get way too violent when you drink."
A man settles into a window seat on a flight to New York, anticipation mingling with a touch of nervousness, when a sharply dressed businessman in a crisp designer suit plops down beside him, exuding the kind of confidence that fills the aisle. As the plane ascends, all seems calm, but soon the man feels a wave of nausea creeping over him, his eyes darting toward the aisle and then to the businessman who's blissfully asleep, completely blocking any path to the restroom. And not wanting to disturb the slumbering titan, he clenches his fists and tries to hold it in, hoping the man will awaken. But the moments stretch into eternity, and finally, unable to contain himself, he vomits all over the unsuspecting businessman, who jolts awake in shock, eyes wide at the mess, just as the first man looks over with a sheepish grin and asks, "So, do you feel better now?"
A family spends their vacation at a nudist camp, exploring the sunny open grounds and enjoying the carefree atmosphere, when their young son bursts into the tent, eyes wide with amazement, shouting, "Wow, Mom, you should see some of those girls. They have got these huge—" only to be cut off by his mother, who calmly replies, "Yes, well, the larger they are, the dumber the woman." And the next day he comes running back again, exclaiming, "You won't believe some of the guys out there. They have this huge—" again interrupted, Yes, well, like I said, the bigger they are, the dumber the man, leaving the boy puzzled and frowning, saying, "Really? We might be in trouble, Mom." And when she asks why, he points toward the camp with a worried look. "Because Dad's out there talking to a really stupid girl, and he's getting dumber by the minute." At a bustling medical convention, a male doctor notices a striking female doctor across the room, and after a few exchanged glances, he musters the courage to ask her to dinner, which she graciously accepts. At the restaurant, their conversation flows smoothly until she excuses herself to wash her hands, returning refreshed and playful. And as the evening progresses back at her hotel, one thing leads to another. Yet each time, just as moments heat up, she politely excuses herself to wash her hands, until finally, after they finish, she gets up once more for her ritual, prompting the male doctor to smile knowingly and remark, "I bet you are a surgeon." And she confirms, asking how he knew, to which he replies, "Easy, you're always washing your hands." And she counters with a knowing grin, "I bet you're an anesthesiologist." And when he asks in surprise how she guessed, she simply shrugs, "I didn't feel a thing." A priest and a lawyer stroll into a bakery, and while the owner's busy, the lawyer slyly grabs 3 warm buns and stuffs them into his pockets, then smugly tells the priest that it took real skill to steal them without being noticed. The priest shakes his head and says that's just petty thievery, explaining he can achieve the same result honestly. So he loudly calls the baker over and claims he's about to demonstrate a miracle of the Lord, asks for a bun and hands it to a homeless man outside, repeats this twice more, and when the confused owner finally asks where the miracle is, the priest calmly replies, "Look in the lawyer's pockets." A completely naked woman leaps into a taxi, causing the driver to stare at her from head to toe, and when she, feeling offended, asks, "What's the matter? Haven't you ever seen a naked woman before?" he calmly replies, "Oh, it's not that you're naked that bothers me," prompting her to challenge, "Then why are you looking at me that way?" And he leans back slightly, eyes narrowing with thoughtful amusement, and responds, "Well, ma'am, I'm looking at you and thinking, where the heck is this lady keeping the money to pay for this ride?" A young teacher was trying to explain the concept of sharing to her 6-year-old class, telling them that no one ever has everything they want, when little Johnny in the back started waving his hand furiously and shouting, "Oh, miss! Oh, miss!" The teacher called on him, and Johnny proudly stood up and declared, "At our house, we have everything." The teacher laughed and said no one has everything, but Johnny insisted, "We do. My daddy said so the other day." Curious, she asked why, and Johnny explained, "Well, my 15-year-old sister came home with her skinhead boyfriend and said she was pregnant." And with a sigh, he concluded, "That's when my dad said, 'God, that's all we needed.'" A woman boards a plane to Italy for a 2-week company training, waving goodbye as her husband drives her to the airport and jokes, "Bring me a gorgeous Italian girl." She smiles politely and leaves, keeping her silence. 2 weeks later, he meets her at the airport, asking how the trip went, and she replies, "Very good, thank you." When he playfully inquires about his requested gift, she raises an innocent eyebrow and says, "Which present?" And after his winked reminder about the gorgeous Italian girl, she calmly responds with a mischievous smile, "Oh, that. Well, I did what I could. Now we just have to wait 9 months to see if it's a girl."